Hi there. If you've never had panettone, you don't know what you're missing because let me tell you, it ain't no fruitcake. We fell in love with panettone when we first tried it, and it makes the world's greatest bread pudding. This year, we discovered they also make a chocolate panettone with chocolate chips instead of fruit. And when we tried this, we decided it's actually not as good as the traditional panettone with fruit. That doesn't mean it's bad nonetheless. So we took this panettone and made bread pudding, which turned out to be outstanding. Not only is this bread pudding, it's chocolate bread pudding.
For this bread pudding, all we need is a 10-inch cast iron skillet. We grease the pan with butter and break the bread into pieces. If you find you don't have enough chocolate panettone, you can add regular day-old bread to the pan, like we're doing here.
I'm always amused by those recipes that say to use a knife and cut the bread up into equal-sized cubes. Yeah, right. I've had no problem with just simply tearing the bread up, and it gives it a nice rustic look, too. And here comes the panettone.
We simply tear the loaf into pieces and cover the regular bread with a layer of panettone.
The panettone completely covers the white bread, so we are good.
Now we prepare a cup of sugar and 6 eggs. Some bread pudding recipes say to use 2 or 3 eggs, but we want to be sure the bread is saturated and not dry. After mixing the eggs and sugar together, we add a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder to make this a chocolate delight.
There we go. Now it's blending in all right. So getting more of a what we'd expect type of consistency. Especially, again, since I haven't added any milk yet.
Mix in a cup of milk, and we're ready to prepare the pudding.
Okay. Now we just
pour it right on.
pour it on. Try to cover as much surface space as possible. Although, I've found from experience as well that it's going to, when it bakes, it's going to steam, and that'll pretty much fill every crevice.
So, you do want to make sure that it's mixed. You know what I mean? Like, not mixed, but you do want to make sure the egg is in it, you know?
One thing I haven't seen in most of these recipes, pressing it down, but it makes sense.
Well, yeah. Well, then you should at least mix the bread around a little bit. Now you know that the egg mixture is in it. If you want to fluff it up with a fork, too, to have your dips and valleys, you know what I mean? A fork, you know? But you just want to make sure that, see, where that has no mixture in it. And I understand it steams, but you still want to make sure there's egg mixed through it, you know?
Alright.
See right there, there was no mixture much. Some of it has a lot more egg than other spaces. Just to fluff it back up a little bit, you know?
Alright.
I've made tons and tons of bread pudding is my favorite. This is just my favorite dessert. So you probably have no idea how many bread puddings I've made. There we go. That looks good.
Alright.
And now you know the egg mixture is through it.
And we're all set.
Yep, now you're all set.
And into the oven we go.
Yep. Perfect. Look delicious.
And we bake it in the oven for 30 minutes. This gives us plenty of time to prepare a topping for the pudding. I was tempted to make a chocolate sauce for this chocolate pudding, but that would have been overkill, and instead we went with the classic buttercream sauce. This involves making a roux with butter and flour, then mixing in powdered sugar.
It's a little odd adding flour to a buttercream sauce, but it's necessary to give the roux the right consistency. The important thing is to stir this for a couple of minutes in order to cook the roux. That way we won't have any floury taste to it.
After this, we start adding powdered sugar and mix it in to sweeten the roux. The roux will become very thick at this point, and that's exactly what we want. Then we add a little milk to thin it out into a sauce. We keep adding powdered sugar and mixing it in and stirring in milk until the sauce is as sweet as we want. And finally, we add a little bit of vanilla extract.
Yes, I mean, again, this is why the flour was necessary. I mean, the powdered sugar dissolves easily into this. I barely used any milk, and yet I've used about 1.5 cups of powdered sugar as opposed to only 1/4 cup of the flour. And it's got a nice consistency right now.
And when it's thick enough to coat a spoon, the buttercream sauce is ready. And hot out of the oven, here is our bread pudding. We spread the buttercream sauce over the top, and our chocolate panettone bread pudding is ready to serve. Even if you've had chocolate pudding before, and who hasn't, this is a unique chocolate taste that is definitely different, exquisite, and divine, which is why panettone is made to be served on special occasions, and especially at Christmas.
This dish was every bit as decadent as it looks, and that's a good reason to have it at Christmas. Of course, bread pudding is an excellent and easy dish no matter what kind of bread you make it with. It's something that'll keep the kids happy, and best of all, it lets you use up dried out bread before it goes bad. But when you make it with something as special as panettone, then this is truly a special treat, one that I definitely encourage you to try yourself. Thank you for watching.